Hello, I'm going to take you through Axiom's looping constructs and conditional logic. So one of the first and most basic looping constructs that you'll see in Axiom is the loop through data step. This will loop through any data from a data source. So in this example, we're getting a set of links from one page and then looping through those links in the next step, the loop through data step. This can generically loop through data from any source though. So we could read data from a Google Sheet in step 1, we could receive data from a webhook, we could import a CSV, but in any case, the loop through data will perform a sequence of operations for every row of data in step 1. That's a very common construct. You may see others in Axiom as well. One of the more powerful ones is to first try a sequence of operations and then execute another if those operations fail. If you're familiar with other programming languages, you may see try catch before. This is essentially that. So it's first try this, for example, trying to execute one set of steps and then executing another if those steps fail. Perhaps the most common form of conditional logic that you'll see both in Axiom and outside is the if condition. In this case, if a condition is true, we'll execute a sequence of steps. Now, Axiom's if condition operates on data. So we could, for example, get data from a scraper, or scrape like a string, for example, in this case. And then if there is a word present in that string, we will execute another sequence of steps. In this case, we have a click if the word axiom is present. You can also use a JavaScript condition to specify arbitrary logic here. So if you know some basic JavaScript, you can basically introduce any kind of logic to check the string for. We have a dedicated tutorial on using Axiom with JavaScript, so I would recommend looking at that if you'd like to understand how to use it. Along with the if, you may be familiar with else conditions. Now, in Axiom, the way this is done currently is simply to reverse the condition of the logic. So if this, in this case, this runs the steps if the steps are true. But to run the reverse, we can run these steps if the condition is false. And that would encapsulate an else condition, which you may have seen from other programming languages. Another condition you may have seen elsewhere is a continue only if. And this is a construct in Axiom where we can continue to execute a sequence of operations only if the following check matches for true. And as with the previous construct, we're going to check some data. So we could check the Google Sheet data, for example, and continue only if the word travel is present in it. Or, what we can do is we could scrape some data from the page and continue only if a string is present on the page. And that's a way to allow your bot to have some branching logic. The final construct that you may want to use with branching and looping is to conditionally jump to another step. This is useful if you have encapsulated a batch of steps elsewhere, and as with the previous steps, what we'll do is we'll check data for a word. So I could check again for the word food in this case, and conditionally jump to another step if the word food is present. In this case, it's jumping to step 3, which will go to Axiom.ai in this case. This particular step is something which is able to construct loops. So you can jump to another step, and potentially you can actually also jump back. In this case, you can set a maximum number of cycles to avoid things like infinite loops. You can also reverse the condition, as with the else block, and jump if the condition is false. So these are the most common constructs with Axiom. With these, you can pretty much encapsulate any kind of branching logic.